Have you seen the Honduran lost city of the monkey god?
Yes.
So good. Yeah. There's a legit full civilization in Honduras, like a bustling city that they found in LiDAR 2 or 3 years ago, using LiDAR 2 or 3 years ago.
Just empty.
Empty. But like a full scale city, not like a village or a town, like tens of thousands. Yeah, look at that.
Fucking wild.
Yeah.
But it totally makes sense, man. If you bring in smallpox, I mean, smallpox kills like 90% of the people that get it.
Right.
So it just fucking decimated the populations of these places where these European settlers made through. That's the whole story behind the lost city of Z, you know.
Well, I knew that the city went away and Percy went to look for it with his son and his son's friend, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize that the idea that smallpox had wiped it out was the reason behind it.
Well, the theory behind it is, and all sorts of diseases, not just smallpox, but that when the Europeans first came through and they first reported about these immense cities,
they were there.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
And so then when people came back like 100 years later, they're like, this is bullshit.
Right.
Because the jungle would just overcome everything.
And it can in so little time.
So little time.
It's crazy. The rate of growth, you know, when the jungle's left alone is unbelievable.
And then there's the weirdness that the jungle itself is actually man-made.
Whoa, hold on. I don't know about this.
You didn't know that?
No, tell me.
Yes. Most of the plants that are overwhelming the rainforest are from agriculture.
They're from ancient civilizations.
Yeah, I think it's like the ice cream bean tree and a bunch of other different trees. But these trees were all trees that had been grown. Yes, it is actually man-made. One of thousands of earthworks built by remarkable but little-known ancient societies. The Amazon, prior to the arrival of Europeans in the Americas in 1492, is commonly depicted as a pristine wilderness dotted with small, simple communities.
Wow.
The Amazon rainforest created. The supposedly pristine, untouched Amazon rainforest was actually shaped by humans. Over thousands of years, native people played a strong role in molding the ecology of this vast wilderness. So these trees that overwhelm the rainforest, they were planted.
They're cultivated.
Yeah, and then they just run amok.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're just really fertile, and the ground. They had developed this type. What's it called? Terra preta. Terra preta, is that what it's called? They had developed a very specific type of soil.
But I guess the
Terra
difference...
preta, yeah.
Terra preta. But I guess the difference being those were all native plants, right? So while the Amazon may have been cultivated by different tribes in the Amazon, they're not getting those plants or trees from anywhere but the immediate surrounding area, right? I mean, maybe not immediate, but within the South Americas.
I'm not exactly sure.
Right? Because it's not like they're importing olives from Spain, right? Like they're using the resources.
Yeah, I don't think they're saying they're invasive. I'm just thinking they're cultivated.
But that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You certainly don't think of that. And you don't think of, at least in today's world, I don't think of the Amazon as being populous. I mean, I'm not talking about Manaus and cities. I'm talking about the wild Amazon. You don't think of civilizations being able to impact that much vastness.
Graham Hancock thinks there was 20 million people living in it.
20 million?
Yeah.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
He thinks it was a vast society.
Wow.
It was filled with human beings and structures, and this is all being like, they have only used LiDAR in a very small percentage of the Amazon.
Of course, yeah.
And they're showing all sorts of structures and irrigation systems and grids that indicate cities and blocks. It's wild stuff, man.
I mean, it sort of makes sense in the sense of the abundance of resources down there, right? It's easy to grow a population when you have so much natural resources. Everything that you plant grows. You know, there's another side of that argument that I've heard paleontologists make, where like when things are too easy, people don't evolve, right? That's a different side of that coin. But if you think about it from like a logical standpoint of when things are easy, it's easy to increase your population. And, you know, when you're not fighting for survival every day because there's coconuts and palm trees and blah, 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 it's easy to reproduce and have more kids and grow a society. Yeah. Versus when you're spending half of your life just trying to get by.
That's an interesting argument, that when things are easy, that people don't grow or evolve. That seems weird to me, because it would seem to me that once your resources were taken care of, once you have food and shelter, you have more time to think. So you have more time to make life convenient, more time to sell goods that would be valuable to people, more time to improve and innovate on those goods.
But the argument is, when things are too easy, you don't push the status quo. So because there are so many abundant resources, you have no need to develop tools and technologies that advance society. So the argument, I don't remember the scientist that said this, is basically if you look along the band of the equator, those are at this time, and this is an older publication, I believe, those were the least developed societies in the world. As you get further away from the equator, you know, up into the not the Arctic, but like up into Scandinavia and so on and so forth, you get more and more advanced civilizations. Because when there's a hard winter coming, or it's just harder to survive, even though there's abundant resources, you need to adapt and overcome and develop in order to prepare for that winter, in order to prepare for a famine time period, versus when it's all just available to you at any time.
The reason why that doesn't make any sense is Egypt.
Sure. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, because that's the absolutely most sophisticated culture pre what we understand of history.
Yeah, true.
You know,
but not on the equator. It is quite far from the equator.
It is far from the equator, but it's also like very lush.
Very.
Like the Nile Valley, they think, you know, 9,000 plus years ago was like extremely lush, which is one of the reasons why they were able to reach this high level of sophistication, because they had access to resources.
Which aligns with the idea that the Amazon had the same things.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, by the way. I think that if you have an abundance of food and resources, you have a better ability to create.
Yeah, that's what that makes more sense to me, but I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think both things could exist.
I agree.
Like you could have it too easy, or you could have it to the point where there's plenty of food to hunt and gather, and you see no need to move out of the hunter-gatherer stage.
Sure.
But then you could also see like super sophisticated societies that lived in that area, like they think the Amazon was.
Right. Right.
That they would innovate.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also you have a large population. Even if it's a small percentage of people innovating, it's gonna impact the great number of people.
If you have enough people, there's going to be people that are creating, right?
Yeah.
There's no way there aren't.
Yeah, and then people came through there with their coughed on everybody and fucking killed them off.
And that's that.
This is really wild, man. It's really wild if that is true. That how horrific that is, that they just basically reset everybody back to the Stone Age.
And if you think about, has that happened before, and will it happen again?
Yeah.
You know,